You always know a teacher because they can get their room quiet just by standing. It is my pleasure to welcome you to today's celebration of 20 years of courage, innovation, bravery, and hard work that has arguably made a difference in the state of Alabama. I think one of the things that I would invite you to consider as we're enjoying today's celebration is the role of an educator in these turbulent times. And the truth is, all times are turbulent. And so what kind of courage does it take to think beyond expectations and to consider what is our role in society and how can we be a better servants and a better service to schools, to learners, and to families. And so today is a day to celebrate the legacy and an innovative program and the courage it took to make that happen. So without further ado, I give you Dr. Julia Austin.
It's so good to see everybody here. And I know we say 20 years, it doesn't feel like 20 years, but undoubtedly it's probably been that long. I'm going to start by giving a little of the background of how we came into being and how we got started. In the 1990s in Alabama, we began to see immigrant children arriving in the schools as they were doing in so many other states that had not traditionally been dealing with lots of immigrants. And in Alabama, there was no bilingual education, there was no ESL teacher training. People did not know what ESL was, and a lot of them didn't want to know. And they believed that these families were going to go away soon. Well, that didn't happen. They kept getting to be larger numbers in the schools, and people began to look for solutions. And we have one person that kind of led that fight, Dr. Rebecca Oxford. If you would please stand. Dr. Oxford was at the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa, and she was working very hard to bring people together from all over the state to try to be able to formulate solutions for this. And she began working, convincing the State Department of Education that we needed to have ESL certification in the state. And she finally won that fight, and we can thank her very much for having the courage and fortitude to persevere through some roadblocks and to be able now to have so many people with ESL certification. So thank you, Dr. Oxford, for those efforts. At UAB, I came to UAB in 1989 as the ESL director in a tenure track position in the English department. That was kind of odd place for it to be, but it was historically where it had been. That meant that I was responsible for ESL testing of people who were taking the 2 ESL courses that were offered to prepare them for freshman composition. Very narrow focus. Well, I had in my job title ESL. And so people started calling the UAB main switchboard. And the main switchboard would do some kind of search, I don't know. And if there was ever a question about ESL or immigration or anything, I got them. And there was no introduction, they just forwarded the phone. And it rang in my office. And this went on for a couple of years. I moved from that position into a position in the graduate school to run a professional development program because the university in their wisdom had decided to cut funding for the program in the English department. Even though we had growing, anyway, we won't go there, but they did. And so the English department says, we're not going to have a tenure track ESL position anymore. And the dean of the graduate school at that time, Dr. Terry Hickey, said, write me a proposal because we have graduate students, immigrants in our, foreign students in our programs that need language instruction, academic language instruction. So I wrote that program. It grew. We didn't know if it'd work or not. I wrote the proposal. It started, and so I moved over, but I still had ESL attached to my name because we were offering classes for second language students. So the phone calls kept coming and kept coming. And I kept getting all this information from, different people all over, and I'm collecting all of this, and I called Joe Burns in the School of Education, who was the chair of C&I at the time, and I said, we really need to get together and have a meeting. Well, Joe didn't know me, but he agreed, and so we got a group of about 8 people together to start talking about what UAB needed. And we started trying to have a meeting, coalition with different areas, people in humanities and different things that we thought, foreign language, we could bring together, start this ESL program. Well, they didn't think so. They didn't agree. A lot of no's. And so, Joe, would you stand up? Joe and I left the meeting, and he said, he looked at me. That was not a very positive meeting. He looked at me, and he just said, we're doing it anyway. And so thank you, Joe Burns, for being willing to support us through those efforts. And please, if you taught any of these first ESL courses, we offered our first ESL course not with an ESL prefix, because we were doing everything on the down low and in through the back door. If you taught any of those courses, or if you took any of those first courses in '99, please stand. Well, we finally began to grow. Lynn Froning came on board. Lynn, stand up so everybody could see you. And Lynn and I began writing a curriculum, and we began writing grants. Fortunately for us, we had a dean at that time who was an ESL husband, Lynn's husband, Mike. And he had been married to an ESL teacher for a long time. He knew what ESL was, and he understood. So we were very fortunate to have a support system there. And so we began creating courses, and we did finally get our first ESL prefix. And so we felt like that was a really big step. And so that summer, you can see we offered a course, and it began to roll out a course a semester because, that's pretty much all we could handle. So if you coordinated any of this ESL schedule, if you taught any of these courses, or if you took any of these ESL courses in 2000 and 2001, please stand. My thanks to you guys for hanging with us as we were building out this program, because taking a course the first time it's offered is not the easiest thing to do. Just like teaching it may not be the easiest thing to do. But we persevered, and we kept adding courses. Susan Spacini came on board, and she offered the first grammar and linguistics course. And then everybody's favorite phonology course. Yes, they used to think the second language acquisition course I taught was bad. Then they got to take phonology. And so we began to get more students because we began to get grants. So if you designed or took these courses when they were first taught in 2003, 2004, 2005, and 2006, please stand. You see what's happening? That number's growing. So we're working under guidance from the State Department of Education, and we were limited with what they would let us add as far as what type of certification we could have. And so these things were added in these various years, building out slowly at a time. And something happened that we weren't really expecting, is we began to have people who were interested in teaching adults, not in teaching in K-12, and we began building out those courses as well. So stand if you're one of the pioneers who designed or took these courses. Again, thank you so much for the input that you had. Some of you remember, we gave you a lot of surveys and questionnaires and interviews and a lot of time that you gave us feedback that all fed back into this program to help us make it better. And so all the folks that came later, you need to thank these early pioneering students for what they contributed to the program. And what really helped to give us the strong footing that we started out with is the grants that we got. Joe and Lynn and I wrote a grant in 99 and 2000 that got rejected. First one that just didn't go very far. But then I was fortunate to meet someone in the U.S. Department of Education at a grant meeting in Washington. And she was kind enough to kind of mentor us along on helping to kind of understand the process, and brought me to Washington for a meeting where they were bringing people who were from states that didn't have grants with people from states that did have grants. And helped really made a big difference. Well, after we didn't get the first grant, we thought the next time we better write for 2, and maybe we'll get 1. Well, we got 2. And so, you go from this absolute euphoria to, oh my God, we got 2. That means we got to do all this. But we had Project Access and New Teachers for New Students that really got us going. The Project Access was for professional development for non-ESL teachers with workshops and support through the year, professional development things. And New Teachers for New Students, that was distance. Before there was the technology really to support that. And how many of you have sent us homework in through fax machines? Anybody in here? Yes, because that was how we had to do that, because a lot of schools didn't have the internet access that we have now. And then we added Project Equal, which we worked with Shelby County and Janet Smith. So if you were part of Project Access or NTNS or Project Equal, please stand up in any way. And we kept writing grants, and we kept getting grants. It's it's been amazing that we have been able to expand what we could do and offer throughout the state and serve so many different areas in our state through these federal programs that we have. And it has given us the ability to build out and provide a lot of professional development that we otherwise would not have. At times, it was a little crazy. I had a full-time job in the graduate school. My graduate school folks over there will remember, because they supported me in many ways while I was doing this part of a job that really wasn't my main part of my job, but it seemed to take an awful lot of time. But we grew a lot of the program out this way. So if you were part of these grants, Stars and Hearts, please stand. Okay, we have testimonials from 3 of our people, I see, who've Cindy's just come in. So if you three would come forward. First we have Georgia Miller, then Judy Wright, and then Cindy Hunt. If you guys would just come on.
Hi. In 1979, I began teaching and had no clue what to do with non-English speakers. And yes, I was one that started calling UAB in 1981 and ESL classes. 20 years later, they offered the first ESL class, which met in a conference room in the Student Center, which is not as lovely as it is now. But working on the master's program was exciting. It was my lifelong dream to be an ESL teacher. The department helped me develop a network of support, beginning with my study group that I still bond with, then on to international TESOL and WIA conferences. And to me, the most special moment was soon after I became a full-time ESL teacher. That was exciting. Now more regular classes, just ESL. I actually met 2 Holocaust survivors at my school who asked me, "Where were you when we immigrated to the U.S.?" So to me, this program means that hopefully there will never be a child enter a school who doesn't speak English without meeting an ESL teacher.
My name is Judy Floyd Wright, and I'm a proud and blessed product of this ESL at UAB. And I usually talk when I'm reading a little bit. I am honored to share this testimonial. My association with the ESL faculty started when I was in a class in Gadsden under Dr. Austin, and then I didn't take anything else. And some kind of way she said, "I need to get in touch with this girl again, and it's perfect for this lady." And so she sent one of these blind emails, hoping it would get to me, and it got to me. And so that's the God wink. I thank her for that. She reached out to me. And she was right. This was my passion and my love of learning and language. So under the tutelage of Dr. Austin and Dr. Spazzini and others, they helped to hone my craft and to continue in my passion of educating and encouraging via language and learning. And I'm so, so thankful because now I retired from Calhoun County School after about 30 years of teaching. And my husband says I'm fired because I'm not really retired. I'm doing some other things. I've only, well, I know in a minute, because of Dr. Spazzini, I learned so many words in it, but you know, they're not. But I just would like to know, have you ever heard of the word volunteer? Have you heard that word before? Well, I just heard it the other day, and I said, "Oh yes, let's learn volunteer." That's what you taught me, but I just think the Lord. She told me, "Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right. In Calhoun County, call her." And so now I'm at the Alabama Institute for the Deaf and Blind. There's one special student who is my passion, and it's wonderful. I must close on this other God wing. It was such an honor. I was the oldest, student in the class that was graduating in 2005. All of my family members' name on that diploma. Austin, everybody's name on that diploma. But I got the privilege, had the privilege and honor to line up for graduation over in the Bell building, which was Auburn High School, where I got my passion turned on for Spanish and didn't get to graduate because the school closed my senior year. How about standing there, walking through the place I would have gone through? I got a chance to do it anyway. And it was such a wonderful thing, and that's why I will forever be grateful for you all. That I'm still doing what you told me to do so well. They think I'm the best thing since sliced bread.
Good afternoon. My name is Cindy Hunt, and I just joined the ranks of those who came to classes by way of the parking lot that is 280. So if I didn't extend you grace when you come to my class, it's in, yeah, you've got it now. So I did not plan to do this or that. I have been referred to by many names as I've gone through the ESL program. In 2004, I turned around and my classroom looked differently. It's more diverse than I'd ever seen it. I taught chemistry and physics. And I turned around and I had students from other countries who didn't know English, and I thought they were just going to be fine. No. On Tuesday, after the first day of school, I started looking for answers. And I met the car salesman, Dr. Susan Spazini, via email, and said, I need a workshop, because you know, when teachers are broken, you go to a workshop to get fixed. So I did, and then about the middle of the middle of the first week, driving home, I realized that this was the piece that had been missing in my teaching for 20 years. I thought a lot of kids had to have some magic itness to do chemistry or physics. And really, I had been the language barrier between them and what they could have known about themselves. And so through the ESL program, I learned something about teaching that I would never have learned any other way. And so by virtue of all that you have done and required of us in 4-inch binders, and for those of you who don't know 4-inch binders, you're welcome. I got the e-portfolio. Okay. So at any rate,
Cindy, there will be a reflection on this when you finish.
is that the Kansas State reflection journal? Okay. So anyway, I'm going to close, but I want to. Sometimes we're fortunate in our lives, in my personal view, that some people come into your life, and they see things in you that you didn't see in yourself. And that's exactly what happened to me. And because of coming through this program and being talked into it by the ever-persuasive Dr. Spazzini, and being guided along that path by so many great instructors, and I know so many of you have come through our classrooms, I have had experiences I would never have had. I have come to meet people from all over the world, from all walks of life, most of them high school students, most of them who didn't have a choice about coming to this country, and I learned to see them and help them find a path for their feet and a place to go in their life. And so not only do I thank you for doing the same for me, it is my intention to continue to do that. I am a retired Alabama teacher. I currently teach adults at Columbus State University in Columbus, Georgia. Hence the drive along 280 today. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank all of you. We have a legacy to continue.
Okay, before I turn my section over, I do have to ask my graduate school folks to stand up, because I couldn't have done what I did to help this program grow if it wasn't for them. Some of them are hiding up here. So, and now here's Susan, who I brought to UAB through a vision I had at TESOL. So I was Susan's instructor at Alabama. And no, I'm not that much older than she is. But I saw her again at TESOL when she was finishing up her PhD and getting ready to look for jobs. And we had arranged to go to dinner or lunch or something the next day, and she had she was giving a presentation at 8 o'clock or some ungodly hour, and I was supposed to go. In the middle of the night, it hit me. We had been looking for somebody to grow the program, because I couldn't devote any more time to it. We had to have somebody that would grow it. And it just, it hit me. I had an epiphany. What is it? One of those God things, Judy? Is that what it is? And I couldn't even go to her presentation the next morning, because I thought I'll have to talk to her about it the minute I see her. And I had to wait till dinner to talk to her about it. And fortunately, she thought it was a good idea too. So, Susan, I'll once more pass it to you.
Actually, I think the first question I asked Julia when she said she wanted to write another grant and she wanted to know if I could be the director. And I said, and remember, I've been living in Paraguay, South America for 26 years. And I said, is that what they call soft money in the States? And she said, yes, but it'll be for 5 years. By then, there should be a tenure track position open. Okay, so I moved my family with that soft money. All right, so here, just again, a picture of Rebecca Oxford as soon as I got this position here. And I went to my first conference to present off my dissertation proposal, and Dr. Oxford was my dissertation chair. And so there we are together. And then Susie, who came in, not in 2018, we were visiting them, but a couple years later. And then the last one here where we're at TESOL in Atlanta with about 15 graduate students launching our EDS in TESOL, just to give you a frame. All right. So the community is what asks us as a school of education to provide for their needs. We need your input, and we've been listening. Julia listened and was bringing in courses. And what do we have now? Adult learners. We had the certification program, it was running, we had the grants, but we have all these parents and other adults that needed well-trained ESL teachers. So we put together, what do you do? A curriculum task force. At that point, we had the English Language Institute that was growing along with us here on campus. There was the Smolian House, there was the International Students and Scholar Services. So we got representatives from each of the entities on campus and formed a curriculum task force. And Susie Olmsted Wong was here driving down from Decatur. And we said, what do we need? How do we create a curriculum, not just 1 or 2 courses, a whole curriculum for training teachers to teach ESL to adults? That is a different type of animal than teaching ESL to kids in schools. Okay, then we had an advisory council, and there we brought in from the churches and from the communities and from all the parent centers. From all over, we brought in a larger group of about 20 that met once a year, giving us feedback on how we were developing the curriculum. And with that, every semester, we rolled out a new course. Just like a few years before that, every semester, Julia rolled out a new course, Julia and Lynn, for K-12. Here we were rolling out a new one for the adult track. And we had the great fortune to be able to teach all these new courses to a type of dream team that just showed up magically, about 8 to 12 people. And they got to be the ones we practiced these courses on. And they got to give back feedback. And it really takes, like Julia said, they had to be patient with us, and we had to be willing to adjust. So here, everybody who participated in the curriculum task force or advisory council taught these courses or took these courses 2009 to 11. Please stand up, all of you. There's a lot of you here. Okay, very good. Now, program expansion. At this point, our master's degree, while we were developing the international, we called it then the international track, we now call it the TESOL track, but the master's degree still didn't say ESL. If you look at your transcript, it was a master's degree of arts in education in education. We needed to say ESL, English as a second language. That's a 2-year process to develop a degree program. We did it with 3 tracks, traditional and alternative for K-12, international or TESOL for teaching adults. We got that. As we were finishing that, we have people saying, we want 2 certifications at the same time. And we go, oh yeah? Yeah. We want ESL in Spanish, we want ESL in French. They said, okay. We asked around, nobody had in this state. We asked the State Department, they said, really? Well, try, let's see what you're gonna do. So we produced it, we submitted it, it got approved, we got a group of people, we're the first ones through. And then we had all these graduates and alumni, and they kept saying, we don't want, we have our masters in ESL, we would like to have an EDS in ESL, or at least ESL certification, track AA, class A. We said, okay, so, so I go and develop that, so I'm develop on these programs when I'm supposed to be writing research articles. Okay. So stand if you earn dual certification, ESL Spanish, ESL French, or UAB's EDS, or we're teaching these courses. Please stand. Now, we got more grants. This time, we got 3. We submitted 5 and we got 3 in 2012. And you know, when you see these lists of grants across the country and you see 3 going to the same institution and you're just a little bit jealous, well, we were in that happy situation in 2012. And it was a lot of work. I was PI on 2 and Julia was on 1. And we have more program coordinators. We reached out. And we reached out to Jefferson County. We've been right here in the middle. We hadn't done any grants because we've been with Shelby County. And these grants were for partnerships. But there was a group of people in Enterprise, which at that point, I think I drove through once, but I guess what, I've been there a lot now. And that group of teachers that were down there and aides, every time I gave a presentation at TESOL conference, and as I'm walking out, they came to me and said, Dr. Spacini, please create us a grant. Please come to Enterprise. We need you. You know, and if you hear a group saying this a few years in a row, you go, they're really with it. Okay, good, we'll do it. Well, you want to know something? There's a lot of Enterprise folks that came in today that got a half day off to drive here. So you're going to stand in just a minute. And Etowah Edge, I didn't know where Etowah was, but anyway, I do now. And it's in Gadsden, and one of our Shelby graduates went back home to Etowah, and she talked to her federal programs, and we got a real letter in the mail, saying, please come. So when we get these requests, we try. The thing is, a lot of school districts have asked for it, and we write grants, but we don't get them all. So, you know, it's how they got valued. So, and all these grants that went out, there had to be ESL teachers there and teachers helping the federal programs in the central office. So you see a lot of people's names here. So everybody stand, if you were Speak Echo Edge staff, evaluated these programs, provided support as UAB staff. There's a lot of UAB staffers here. Okay, school partner, taught the courses or took the course. So that's a lot of you guys. Stand up. Okay, now, what took me to Paraguay so many years ago was the Peace Corps. And Peace Corps stays with you forever, okay? I just was one of the ones that didn't come back after 2 years. All right, and then in our ESL team of instructors, we had Sue C., who had been to Antigua, and then Jennifer Greer had been to Costa Rica. And my colleagues from former Peace Corps volunteers said to me, we got to do something with Peace Corps. Okay, but I had to wait till we had the master's program that said Masters in ESL. So once we had that in 2011, we just started creating more programs. So then we sent the proposal to Peace Corps to have a Masters International, which is the students come here, they take 10 courses of the 11, then they go overseas and teach 2 years in the Peace Corps, and that's their practicum. Okay, so that's what the program is. We started in 2013. We had 5 people. They went to 5 different countries. Actually, the people came from 2 different states. And we were really going good. And then the U.S. government decided, that's time to end this program. So, you know, that's just it. We couldn't have that anymore. So, but we still got lots of countries. And then now we have Coverdale Fellows, which is, we had somebody come from Mississippi. She'd been in Cambodia 2 years. She did her master's with us. So Coverdale Fellows is for the returning. So everybody who has been participating in these programs or with a Peace Corps volunteer, please stand up. Come on, I know that 2 of them. Okay. All right. I told them where they had to sit so I could see them. All right, now. We are very fortunate through the grants. We have a very active virtual presence. The grant pays for a webmaster. Our webmaster, Lisa Kirkpatrick Preston, had been working in Shelby County, took over the web in 2007, and then right after she did that, she said, I'm going to New Zealand. I go, well, okay. And then I said, well, we have to get a new webmaster, and she told me we didn't, because she would be able to do it from New Zealand, which is really great, because if I send her changes for the web, for a web page in the evening, when I wake up, it's done. Okay. All right, so our website has this phenomenal, all these different things, and you'll notice web pages. You see special events, and that's where in a few days you will see the video from today's presentation. All the people that didn't come can see it, you can see it again. All of the posters, all the things happening. And we're on social media, so a lot of you would have seen it there. And we have one, now you think it's far to come from Enterprise, and the people here from Huntsville and from Atlanta and so forth. Okay, Lisa. Lisa's here from New Zealand. Give Lisa a hand. Of course, I knew that Lisa wouldn't be able to have a 2-month notice, so I gave her 6 months. I said, last October, I said, we have reserved the place, make your plans. Okay, it happened to work out. Okay, now. Huh? Okay. Marie, Chad, and Ferdos, would you please come forward? This is our next group of alumni. You just go behind me. Go to this end. Okay.
Cindy, I don't know why you had to bring up those binders. I still have nightmares. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and go, oh, I forgot to ready reaction. But anyhow, so when I arrived in Birmingham by way of Hurricane Katrina in 2005, and my whole life was upended, just sort of overnight. And once we realized it was, best to stay here a while, I had to think, well, what am I going to do? And so I started to look around me and notice the shift in demographics since the time I've been gone. And believe it or not, there was a time when you had to drive for miles to get Mexican food. There was Guadalajara and Hoover, and that was about it. But anyway, and when I came back, now all of a sudden people were calling it Guadalajara Hoover, and all the people in my apartment complex were from all corners of the globe. And so I thought, ESL, I always wanted to teach ESL. So I thought, well, I'll go to UAB and just did a pamphlet or something. But of course, as you can all imagine, I ran into Dr. who can be very persuasive. So I didn't just leave with a pamphlet. I left with solid plans to enroll in the master's program with a checklist and details all mapped out. And not only that, I also left with an interview to go ahead and start teaching on an emergency certificate in Pelham City. So at the time we were part of Shelby County. Anyhow, so I've now been with Pelham City this is my 14th year, and none of that would have happened without Dr. Spizzini and her guiding me through that process, and it's been absolutely amazing. I couldn't imagine my life without this program and without my colleagues. They've become, so close to me and really shaped my life and have been, a wonderful part of my family and my entire experience since we came.
My name is Chad Strawn. 20 years ago, something else very special started happening. I started teaching 20 years ago in 1999. And in the near 2 decades that I've taught school, there has been nothing that has impacted my day-to-day practice in a general education classroom more than this master's degree program. And that would be worthy enough for a group of teachers and other educators to gather for, to honor after 20 years, something that's impacted somewhat people that much in their practice. But I would just stand here and tell you today that you have changed who I am. I taught school in the same elementary school that I went to, and that was what I wanted to do, and I was perfectly happy to be there until I found out about this program, and I didn't really want a master's degree, but then they said, well, we'll pay for it. Okay. Well, I don't really want to drive to Birmingham. Well, we'll come to you. Okay. So it was one of those God-wink things, like Miss Wright said. And so I signed up. And you just don't know. Dr. Spizzini, when I left my first school in East Texas, the last piece of mail that I opened up and threw out the window as I drove back home to Northeast Alabama was my academic probation letter. I had a respectable bachelor's degree, but when I hit master's level, I left with A's in every course because it mattered to me. You got to understand that you're looking at a man who still drives the same truck that he drove in 1999, and I'm proud that the driver's side door doesn't open from the inside. And I'm a different man because of this program. A month ago, I sat in a session at my first TESOL, and I got to meet David and Yvonne Freeman. And when I saw one of their slides that I'd seen before, I felt like I was at an Eagles concert. They had just started taking it easy. It was fantastic. And so to get to go up to them and thank them, because Between Worlds was my first textbook, and thank them for what they did, and to be able to stand here today and find out that behind the scenes, since I started teaching in 1999, that there were so many other people who were working behind the scenes to help me become what I am today. It is my honor and my privilege to stand here today, and thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is Firdaus Garada. You see my name here. It's not for me to say it or to make it. I would like to say thank you, UAB Teachers Education Program, because it has trained me and prepared me to handle the keyword, my school, diversity. My students are from diverse range of cultural, social, economic, and educational background. But I was lucky because this program has prepared me to teach my different students differently, but treat them the same way. I would like to say my students, or let's say my lower elementary students, like a book. Its name is It's Okay to Be Different. But before my students became able to read and access this book, Dr. Spizzini, Dr. Julia Austin, Dr. Oxford, Dr. Olmsted have taught me that it's okay to be different, and that makes us more beautiful. Thank you.
I would now like to introduce Dr. Josephine Prado.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's really exciting to be here and to be part of this amazing program. I feel very honored that I was able to come to UAB, and I knew Julia and Susan for many years, and I'm really happy to be here. So what I want to talk about now is we're going to move and start talking about the program and the partnerships and the clinical experiences. And so while all of you know in our classes, the idea of praxis is incredibly important. It is the key, right? Theory is important, but it's nothing without the practice, because we do work with people of all ages. And so in order to strengthen and build that praxis, it's important to practice. And so that's where our clinical experiences come in. So let's. Yay. All right. So, so we have, as you know, we have two programs. We have our certification program and we have our MA TESOL program. And while it's important to build our clinical experiences and offering our praxis, it's also, as I mentioned, we're building our courses. And we have several of these courses. There's 612, 641, and 660 are important in terms of that praxis opportunity. That's where we have clinical experiences. But these are also courses that we've been adding all along because as the theme has been going along, we answer the need of the community. Times change, situations change, politics change, and teachers, because you always work with people, and we're in public education, private schools, we're also in higher education, we're everywhere. We're answering the need of our community. Therefore, our titles are beginning to change. We offered strategies to teach math and science to English learners. We are offering, we're starting a new one for engaging families and communities. We have heritage language instruction, one of my favorites, yay Leah. Teaching emergent bilinguals in early childhood settings, very, very important. It's that preschool. If we can start there, then we're good. All right, so let me not gobble. Oh, but very important to know, and it's Dr. Spazzini that gets credit for this. We continue to grow and strengthen our program, and one of the ways that we're doing it is we are pursuing national accreditation. And so that's what all of this here at the bottom is. Those mysterious letters, Kate, it is actually that this program at UAB will become nationally accredited as an ESL program. And so that is something to be proud of, and something that Dr. Spazzini's birthday has. Oh, stand if you have helped design, teach these specialized courses, or if you've taken them. Yay! Okay, so now we talk about clinicals. And so our field experiences, it's important for certification that we offer the appropriate amount of number of hours, and that we offer a varied experience. For certification, our students, our master students, our candidates need to have experience in urban situations, rural, and suburban. And so we have, through our long standing relationships with our partners, through different school systems, we are very lucky to have lots of opportunities for a varied experience. We also have the internship, which is where students will be in our summer programs. Every summer, every year, our teachers have the opportunity to actually practice all day or all through the summer program, half day, and they will work with English learners. So. Stand if you have helped organize or supervise these placements, or if you have hosted UAB's ESL students in your PK classroom. We also have our MAT-SOL program, and our MAT-SOL program, because we work with adults, our settings are ever more varied. Those of us who are thinking about working with adults, you can have community setting, you can have intensive English programs, community colleges, you can work abroad. So there are many options. And again, we're very fortunate to have very strong relationships and partnerships with people from Jefferson State College, from the Literacy Council of Central Alabama, and I'm very excited that we have a unique opportunity to offer an academic literacy, an academic writing class for English learners, for adult English learners. It's one of the only that I know about, and it's a very powerful thing. We have the community English classes. So if you have gone through the adult program or the MAT-SOL program, you will know, or if you are an alternative master's student, you took 610 in the past 5 or 6 years, you would have taught in the community English classes. This is a win-win as well, because as community English based here at UAB, our international scholars, postdocs, but also the community at large is welcome to come and have free classes. And the master students have that opportunity that they need to practice. Because our adult class, we have so many people, we have so many students who come who may have teaching backgrounds, but some people have never stood in front of a classroom, particularly of adults, and that can be a very scary thing, as we all know. And so that low stakes opportunity to practice is really important. I coordinate that, and it's been my joy to do that, and I want to see it grow and thrive. One of my mottos, I think about Miss Frizzle from the Magic School Bus, which is just get messy and make mistakes. And that really, for me, is kind of what the community English classes are all about. We have so many other opportunities, and let me not forget our institutions of higher education, because our intensive English programs are so very important. And we are very, very fortunate to have an outstanding program right in Stern Library. We're only a hop, skip, and a jump away. And so that is an amazing and very important relationship that we have. All right, so Stan, if you have helped organize or supervise placements, or if you have hosted UAB students in your classroom. Lots of people should be standing. Oh, all right, and this is a fun part. I get real excited about this part. Our Ivory Coast program is really a wonderful opportunity, and I hope more students will take advantage of this. Currently, we have Caitlin Howard. She will be graduating very soon. She is currently in the Ivory Coast, and she was very obligingly sent a photograph and a little blurb about her experience there. And we have also we've made explorations in going to Mexico. We're building relationships with scholars in Costa Rica, and I submitted a program for a study away class today, education in Uganda. Very excited about that. That's going to happen, fingers crossed, May 2020 for 3 weeks. We're going to go to Uganda, so we'll see. So we continue to grow and we continue to expand. So that's very exciting. Okay, and then this also for me is very close to my heart. I am an ESL teacher, but as an ESL teacher, my calling was to work at in a higher education so that I could help teachers before they got in the classroom. However, it meant that I didn't get to work maybe with English learners as much as I had always wanted to, and then it changed. And so, again, our relationship with UAB, we have a program where students from all around the world will come, and it's a bridge program, it's a pathway, and so they will take classes at UAB to improve their academic English, and then they also come and they take classes at the MAT SALT program. And so this warms my heart because now I get to walk my talk again. I think that for all of us as teachers is incredibly important. So that's exciting for me. So Stan, if you work at UAB, teach pathway students or have been a pathway student. Now, Dr. Spazzini is ever keeping us going. And again, I'm very grateful because I see this as a very important future to our program. And it also, again, meets the need of the community. As we began to research and learn a little more about the EDS program, we learned that an educational specialist is actually a degree that is limited to the Southeast, which is something I didn't know. So if you if you got your degree in Colorado or in Washington State or North Dakota, they don't have EDS degrees. They just don't exist. So that means that this is something special. This is a niche a degree, and we're putting it online. So in fact, we can offer this opportunity for people who wish to deepen their knowledge, their content knowledge, and explore research options through an EDS. They now have this opportunity so that they can begin to teach in university classes or become much more of a leader than perhaps they already are through this program. So this is our newest degree, And we do have our completers. So Gwyneth is she was our very first person to go through, and she is from North Dakota or South Dakota, and so she's not here with us today, but she was very much of a trooper. As we, again, when you start something new, there's always a lot of learning for everybody. So she very much was helpful. Melissa Hawkins also, and Melinda Harrison also. So very important people, and to which we are very grateful. Okay, so yes, Stan, if you were one of these pioneers, or if you currently are pursuing UAB EDS TESOL or plan to do so, or if you have taught our EDS TESOL courses, if you're in some way related, stand up. Yay! All right, and now we have our alumni testimony. So we have Monty, Erwin, Maite Cotton, and Shin Yu Sai.
Mark Twain once said, travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness, and many of our people need it solely on these accounts. Broad, wholesome, charitable views of men and things cannot be acquired by vegetating in one corner of the earth all one's lifetime. And that basically summarizes my need, my experience, my story. I spent 15 years living and working cross-culturally overseas in mission work for my denomination. When I came home, my career plans were forced to change, but not my love and my calling for working internationally. Having learned a second language, I knew the challenges of language acquisition, but as an educator, I also knew enough about how I learned and how other people learn, but I lacked the specifics of teaching others a second language. And it was when my son Trey came home one Thanksgiving from having lived in Mobile and working at ThyssenKrupp in a business marketing kind of a job. He announced to my wife that he, rather than taking his company's offer to work on an MBA, he decided he wanted to work on a master's in teaching English as a second language. Well, I overheard that conversation, and I was changing career paths. And I went to my son Trey and I asked him, I said, could I borrow your idea? And perhaps maybe the two of us could work together on this MA TESOL, and we did here at UAB. And I found that I was able to recapture my love, my passion for working cross-culturally, and it reignited that passion, and also I recaptured my imagination of what that looked like. So together with my son, we worked on the MA TESOL. I graduated just a little bit before he did. I tried to get him to take at least one class with me, and somehow that didn't work out, but we managed to finish almost at the same time. But UAB's ESL program gave me everything that I needed. I'm now in my 7th year of teaching, and in my 3rd year of teaching here at Into UAB, and I am so grateful for those like Dr. Spazzini, Dr. Austin, Dr. Rebecca Oxford, who are here today, among others. You have been a great, you've been great mentors in my life, and I thank you for the journey that we've been able to make together.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me? I would like to share with you the experience of teaching my first EL student. His name is Julio. I just switched from special education into ESL, and I was very excited to work with Julio. We both came from Mexico, and we both spoke Spanish. Well, Even though we both spoke the same language, and I tried very, very hard to help him acquire fluency in English, Julio did not make any progress during the year I worked with him. I felt horrible about it because I knew firsthand his struggles. I'm sorry. I still wanted to teach English learners. I'm sorry.
You're good.
I'm an English learner. I still wanted to teach English learners. However, deep in my heart, I knew I didn't have the skills or the education to help him. So everything changed in 2013. I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to come to the ESL Master's Program at UAB. I truly feel privileged to have been instructed by such an amazing group of teachers. And I want to say thank you, Dr. Cassini, and all the faculty members for the support and all the wisdom that you provided. I also want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to grow personally and professionally. Because of this program, I have a greater understanding of how to work with English learners, and also I can help them prepare to be successful in the classroom and to meet their needs linguistically. I also have the opportunity to share this knowledge with my colleagues across the state as a state ESL coach. I'm sorry, I wasn't going to cry. Thank you so much.
Hi everyone, thank you. So my name is Xinyi and I'm from China. I graduated from Xi'an International Studies University and I got my bachelor's in international politics. I didn't like it. So I didn't like it, and plus when I graduated, I didn't really know what I would be doing. But I knew I loved the languages. I knew I wanted to teach, and I knew I wanted to challenge myself. So here I am. I got into the program at UAB, the TESOL program at UAB. So I remember when I got my admission letter, I think Lisa signed on it. So I got it and I got shipped to China. I opened it. I was so excited. So I told my grandparents. And my grandparents doubted me. They asked me, do you even understand them? And do you speak different languages? And how do you talk? And it was funny because my grandmom didn't get to come to my graduation 3 years ago. And she has never been to a foreign country. And still, even when we FaceTime now, she will ask me, are you doing okay? Do people understand you? So still she asked me. And my granddad, who came to my graduation, he was really confident, and I could hear him on the other end of the phone call. He would say, don't ask those questions. You don't have to. So yeah, so I got into the program and I started with academic English classes because my English wasn't great. I'm still working on my English, but I started with my English classes. And then I remembered in the summer of 2015, I believe, that was my first degree course with Dr. Oxford, adult teaching class. So I graduated in December 16. So it's been it was great at the program part, and then it's been almost 2 years since I started serving as a Chinese cultural advisor at UAB. So I like to say not only did the program teach me how to take care of myself in a foreign country when I was away from home. At the same time, it taught me like how to grow as an has been amazing since my day one in the United States. It's not over because I'm working here and I will be working for a while. At the same time, it will never end because I will carry what I learned from the program along with me for the rest of my life. And I want to say thanks to all the professors and the teachers who have ever taught me. Thanks for the program. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Monty, Maite, and Cindy. That was really lovely. And now, I would like to turn it over to my fabulous and wonderful colleague, Dr. Kelly. Okay. I also am super excited to be here today. I actually was a teacher in Shelby County, and I was selected to be a part of Project Equal and later Shelby Stars. I was fortunate to have Dr. Susie Olmstead, Dr. Austin, and Susie, who has become one of my greatest mentors and a lifelong friend. I had Dr. Spazzini, like many of you, in phonology, and I vividly remember sitting at my kitchen table as my daughter stared on, saying, "Mom, I don't know if you sound like a barking dog or a dying dog," as I tried to make those glottal and fricative sounds. And then once she heard fricative, she was gone. She thought that was the best word in the whole wide world. So, that being said, Dr. Spazzini has certainly been a mentor to me as I came on board and wrote my first grant. And because of our long history of grants and because of your mentorship, I got that first grant that I ever wrote. So in 2016, we received 2 grants, CREST and Impact PD. CREST helps prepare pre-K through 12 educators in Etowah, Gadsden, Atala, and at the standalone St. James Catholic School. Impact PD is a state partnership, and we work to prepare pre-K teachers to work better with the dual language learners in their classrooms. And in addition to that, we built in a component to meet the needs of our pre-service teachers. And with that, I'll talk a little bit in a minute about, well, I can talk about it now, our fast track. So now our pre-service teachers can take 4 classes that are graduate level ESL courses concurrently with their pre-service classes, which for those of you who are ESL teachers, administrators, and work in schools, you know how powerful it is for the general education classroom teachers to understand how to work with dual language learners or emergent bilingual learners. And beyond that, we now at UAB have a required course in our early childhood and elementary program. It is one of the only ones in the state, and I love this course. It was just taught for the 3rd time, and every time, based on student feedback, I have changed it and made it better. And this semester, we actually had class on site at Glen Iris, and the teachers got to go in and watch Miss Krutzman teach, watch Miss Pilgrim teach, watch Miss Watkins teach. They got to work one-on-one with their own students to get practice before they went into student teaching. So it has really, really impacted our pre-service program as well. So we took that idea of that fast track and thought, how else could we meet the need in our community? Well, Dr. Spazzini and I worked together to propose this micro-credentialing in teaching multilingual learners. So now those 4 courses, or soon I should say, hopefully those 4 courses will allow our pre-service teachers to graduate with a graduate certificate in teaching multilingual learners. But this also opens us up to work across campus with students in other schools and departments who see their work as an area that they would need to know how to work with multilingual learners. So that opens up our reach even more, which is very exciting. We've talked about our teaching and how we continually create new courses and refine those courses. We've talked about our outreach and service through our community partnerships. So, because we are a Research One institution, you know that we are also going to talk about our research through this department, and that has been also made possible through our grants as well. So, with the new grant focused on early childhood, I have been able to work with pre-service teachers, in-service teachers at the master's and PhD level, and with general ed colleagues, Dr. Summerlin and Dr. Ponder, as we research together with teachers like Ms. Krutzman and many others in here, as they implement translanguaging in their classroom. Children in early childhood are particularly vulnerable because we know from research that the earlier they enter classrooms where English is the dominant language, the more likely they are to lose their native language, which has negative impacts on identity, disrupts family dynamics, and robs them of their potential and the benefits that they could have of bilingualism. So to visit classrooms and see monolingual English teachers really not only accepting but encouraging the use of sometimes 7 and 8 different languages in their classroom is absolutely phenomenal. So, let me go forward. So that's some of the work that I have done with the early childhood. So if you are, and I haven't been very good at this so far, I apologize. So you can stand up if you were missed on some of the other ones now as well. So any of those other things that I've talked about, if you don't want to stand up, you stand up. And we will, yes, none of you are standing up, but we see you. So if you have been involved in any of the studies in early childhood, done action research, presented at conferences with us on our Summer Institute, preparing teachers to work with early childhood teachers or classroom teachers, please stand up. Other studies from my colleagues have focused on our teacher education program and following master's students throughout their journey. Focused on advocacy, changing teacher practice in rural settings, oral English proficiencies. Bet you wonder who's leading that. As well as mentoring. So as we talk about our research, I need to also mention the Center for Educational Accountability, as they have been working with us along with Dr. Littleton to ensure that we are checking all those boxes and that we will have the data at the end of these grants to show others what we have been able to accomplish and practices that we found to be effective so that others can replicate the great things that we are doing here. So if you're an evaluator for the grant, stand. Yeah, I see y'all. And so now I would like to call up 3 people. Tiffany G., who I had the pleasure of co-teaching with when I was a kindergarten teacher in Shelby County. Diana Pretzman, and if you've never taught your best friend in a master's course, I wouldn't recommend it. And Jessica Pilgrim. Okay, so.
Click this slide, please. Again.
Tiffany, well, I was going to let you go first.
She always does that. It's embarrassing. So my experience with the ESL Master's Program and the Impact PD has been a little bit different because I did come into the program having an educational background in ESL and ESL teaching experience. And so I moved here from Colorado, and I was going through lots of things at the time. And my Dr. Spazzini story is that I met her, and she was trying to convince me to join the program. And I said, well, I have a lot of things going on. I'm not really sure. And she looked at me and said, it's free money. It's free education. She would be like, who says no? And I'm like, yes, ma'am. Sign me up. So it's been great ever since. But my story is a little bit different in how it impacted me, is that it's not necessarily just what I learned and the knowledge base, but it's who I've become through Dr. Hill. And Dr. Susie were the first ones that I actually taught with at Inverness. I didn't believe in myself. But she did. And it has inspired me to be a leader in the ESL community. And I love to do professional development now because of them. And I remember saying to them, and Dr. C too, I said, because they were doing all these professional development, teaching, presenting at conferences, and I looked at them and said, wow, that's great. I said, I'd love to be able to do that one day. And I remember Dr. C looking at me and said, I said, but I don't have anything to say. And she looked at me and said, yes, you do. You do have something to say and something to share. And through the whole experience now, I love to go out and share my knowledge base and my belief in myself and the ESL program and inspire others to be advocates for diversity and for the students. And this is what I will carry with me forevermore. Thank you.
I want to start by saying Kelly Hill kicked me, and that's what's wrong with me. I said no to talking at first. Actually, I want to start by thanking all of the UAB ESL program. They have made a change in my life and in me as an educator. I didn't go back to get my education degree until I was 38 years old. I've been a stay-at-home mom until then. Dr. Spazzini has changed how I educate, but Kelly Hill has been the impetus to the educator that I am and who I am as an educator. She helps me construct my education every day. Today in my classroom, Alexis looked at me and he said, I spoke Spanish. But it okay in class was you, and gave me a big hug. This program allows me and taught me how to have a translanguage in kindergarten classroom. My kids use their entire linguistic repertoire in my classroom every day. My monolingual students benefit from it as much as my multilingual students benefit from it. And when you walk into my classroom, you'll hear lots of different students using lots of different languages. When we greet each other, in the morning with a butterfly good morning, it's a papillon good morning. It is a, oh my gosh, the Spanish word. Mariposa, good morning. Sorry, it just blanked on me and I speak Spanish. A mariposa, good morning. A papillon, good morning. A butterfly, good morning. We do it in multiple languages, and it's just how we function. It is part of our community, and that is because of this program. I have been the benefit of 2 of the grants in this program. I have benefited by getting my master's through the EDGE program, and I have worked significantly with the impact program. I have had 6 impact student teachers. 3 of them have gone on to be teachers at my school. Watching them become teacher leaders has been phenomenal. Cannot say any more than how proud I am of what this school is putting out for our future. It makes me every day proud to say that I'm a Blazer, proud to say I went to UAB, and proud to say that this is where my ESL degree comes from.
Okay, I'm Jessica Pilgrim. First, I want to thank all of the faculty here because they've made a giant impact on my life, but especially Kelly. Especially Kelly because she stepped into my undergraduate class just 4 years ago and told us that we were going to have kids that didn't speak our language in our classroom and we needed to know what to do with them. And that forever changed. Excuse me. That forever changed what I was going to do in my classroom from there forward. I was a part of the first ever cohort of her impact grant, so we were the guinea pigs for the whole thing. We got to try everything first. Now I'm about to finish my degree in August, and it's been really helpful for me in my class. This year in my pre-K class, I have 13 emergent bilinguals, 5 different languages represented, and they've even taught me that I could be an emergent bilingual. I'm trying to learn Spanish now. They'll tell you to in pre-K if you're pronouncing it wrong, I promise. They'll let you know real quick, it's fine. So now I really just want to thank Kelly and Dr. Stazini, Dr. Brano and Ponder. It's been an amazing experience here at UAB, and I really couldn't support and of course you, Diana. She's over here pointing to herself like I forgot it. I could never forget her. But it's really made a difference on how I do everything in my classroom. I could never support these kids the way I do now, and I'm really extremely grateful for y'all. Thank you.
Did y'all place bets on who could make me cry? I'm not sure what happened there. Thank you all for sharing the impact that this program has made on you, and know that had similar impact on me, and that's why I'm here doing what I do. So I would like to call back up the mastermind of this event, Dr. Susan Spazzini. Thank you.
Okay, as we go into the last couple slides, just what is the outreach? This year, we've had 764. We're reaching that, the number of alumni, since the first one in 2001. Well, our alumni teach and support English learners in a variety of settings. Those who are elementary and secondary teachers perhaps could teach from 1 to 10 English learners per year, depending how many are coming through their content courses. If you're an ESL teacher and you're teaching K-12 or adult learners, you'll probably reach between 30 and 150 English learners in a year, 1 year. And if you have a non-teaching role, you might be supporting between 2 and 20 English learners, and even those of our colleagues who are now retired are still working with English learners, because so often in their community, in their churches, they're volunteering, they're coming back as adjuncts. So how many English learners do our alumni reach in 1 year? If you think of 2018 to 19, there were 746 alumni this year, and each one an average of 30, that's easy math, 21,000 English learners just this year alone. Now, our alumni have not just been teaching, but they've been supervising interns, hosting interns in their classrooms. leading as program and school administrators. We have a few principals here and associate principals, associate, because I've seen a few come in, and we love it when they reach that leadership role. And serving on advisory council. And where are they in the world? It took me a while to do this. All right. All right, but our alumni like to keep in touch with me, and I say, and where are you now? And then trying to send out emails to everybody about today's event. You know, then I find it and ended up going on Facebook, and they said, oh, yeah, I'm overseas. And I go, well, that's pretty big. Where? Oh, Kuwait, United Arab Emirates. So, notice on the country map, at the world map at the bottom, 41 countries on 6 continents, okay? Now, some people get 3 or 4 countries all to themselves, because every 2 years they go to another place. Some of the countries have had a few of our graduates there. Look at the U.S. map. That's 32 states. You know, 2 years ago, one of our alum became adventuresome. She's in Alaska. This fall, one of our alum went to Nevada. Sometimes, you know, the spouses take them places. And now, just recently, 2 months ago, one of our alum went to Vermont and is teaching on the Canadian border. All right, and talks about going over to Montreal. So we've got 32 states. And in Alabama, yes, most of us are here in Jefferson County and Shelby County. But, you know, Alabama's pretty big. We've had grants all over. And 43 counties and counting. You know, there's a few counties still we need to fill in there, but that's 67%. Now, there's a big group. I would like Enterprise to stand up. Everybody, Enterprise, Dothan, Montgomery, please stand up. Okay, good. Huntsville, students and faculty, stand up. We got some Huntsville. Did they go back? There we go, stand up. All right? And Dr. Oxford, stand up. Huntsville. Okay, so in Baldwin County, we have 20 alum in Baldwin County. That's 250 miles away. They simply couldn't make it, but they sent a beautiful poster with all their pictures and them working, okay? All right, so we couldn't have done it without all of you. Alumni, current students, course instructors, clinical supervisors, partners, grant staff, advisory council members, and our family and friends, all of us. Okay? So now, for the closing remarks, Dr. Cypre with our major accomplishments in 20 years. This. Okay.
So many of you have had the full Spacini experience, is what I understand, being the new dean here. And it is my pleasure to explain to you what it's like to be the new dean here and experience the full Spacini experience. In July, 2 days after my employ, Dr. Spacini found me. There was a 4-inch binder. There was a requirement for a reflective essay. There was scrutiny of my own practice as a principal. And then I had to practice my Spanish. And then talk about other thoughts about access and equity and diversity. Which leads to now, because during that day in July she said, I will need you next year to be ready to give a lesson. And she reviewed the lesson, and I want you to know at the beginning I had to lean over and double check that my lesson plan is okay. So now we are here at the lesson. So Dr. Spacini, I look forward to your feedback.
Okay.
Let us take a minute to just drink in what is in front of us. And you know good teachers move around the class, so that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to be reflective and be engaging. And I'm going to use inflection in my voice so that you're not surprised. Look at that. 10 ESL grants, $15 million. Look at that. 746 alumni. 43 of Alabama's 67 counties, 64%. Yes, this is a program resulting from forces of nature that will not be denied, period. You also see our partnerships, that we have clinical placements in 33 school districts, and placements in 29 adult learner settings. And you know you're never supposed to read the slide when you're teaching class, by the way. And not only that, let's remind everyone, we are a Research One institution. We do the hard work of not only translating knowledge, preparing educators to disseminate knowledge out in the world, we produce our knowledge, which makes us different than what schools do in K-12 systems. We are a university. There is a difference. And so what that means is that the people that we work with, the people here at this university that are working with you, also feel an incredible pressure to think up and find new knowledge. So it's a full day, particularly if you're on this Spacini planet. So let's look at the next slide, because now it's a time for a quiz. I will be watching to see if you are engaged and understand. It will be difficult. I would like you to know. I would like you to stand up if you know how many years we're celebrating. Stand up if you know the answer. Outstanding! Let me give appropriate feedback to that. I see that. I'm giving you wait time. But you haven't told me. How many years are we celebrating? 20! Oh, look, good job. I'll use a thumbs up. That's appropriate. Very good. Have a seat. How many people know the answer to when our first ESL course was taught? Stand up if you know the answer. Thank you for raising your hand. That's close. If you know the answer, stand up. Look at that. There's a lot of people who know. Okay, now we need to let everybody keep their hands and feet to themselves. It's 1999, right? Have a seat. What's our next question? Now listen, this is going to be really important, so I want you to focus. If you taught our first 5 ESL courses, stand up. Wow! Let's our next question. If you wrote and directed our first 4 ESL grants and you taught our first 5 ESL courses, stand up, please.
Yeah, I have. Yes, I know I have.
Who started our ESL Teacher Education Program? Please walk down here to the front of the class. The reason that Dr. Julia Austin is standing in front of us is because it is my pleasure to share with you that because of your hard work and dedication, there's just pictures, don't worry, it's good. Because of your hard work and dedication, and because you had the courage and fortitude and perseverance and just guts. There's a picture to look at this. That's you being all that at the 2014 International TESOL Convention. Look at you. You see, it's just not the Spacini experience, it's also the Austin experience. But today, the truth is, we want to honor your vision and legacy because we're about to announce that we are rolling out the Dr. Julia S. Austin English as a Second Language Program Scholarship. Not only is it an endowed scholarship, if you look over here to your right, these might be people you know. That name tag says William Austin, and that name tag says Dawn Austin and Larry Austin. These are the Austins! So basically what's happened is they've heard the whole thing behind your back. You not only honor our profession, but you honor your family. And we're just so thrilled that not only do we have this endowed scholarship, people have been giving money already. A lot of money. And we need you to give some more. So, let's give a final round of applause.
Thank you. You've been my heart for a long time. And a lot of you have just made my life so special. And I thank you for that. Go out and do more.
With that said, we would like to invite you to egress outside for a celebration, and there will be a drawing, so make sure you participate in that. Dr. Spacini will stay here to give me feedback on my lesson in class management. Thank you so very much. Thank you very much, and congratulations, Dr. Hall.